This is a hopefully short video supporting a blog post I've just written about joining one virtual machine to another tenant, completely separate tenant. So it's like it's super simple. It's not really like a vulnerability or anything like that. It's just how it all works, and I thought it was quite interesting, so I thought I'd share. But essentially, it requires two tenants. Let's say a victim tenant, which you've conveniently got local admin rights over, which I'll explain shortly, um, and an attacker-owned tenant with a Windows virtual machine that is exposing its that has a managed identity on it that is exposing the metadata service publicly. None of these managed identities need any permissions. They're literally there just to provide access to the metadata service. That's it. So let me just show you. So I've got a victim machine here that I've called that we've got local admin access over. I mean, with all cloud stuff, the initial access is always kind of glossed over. And, well, at least when I talk about it, it is because you've got things like, you've got run command, you've got the serial port access. It could be a web server that's got an RCE on it. Initial access could be anything. But essentially, what I'm trying to articulate here is that there's just no extra permissions in here, which I think lowers the barrier to entry here a little bit. So it's a managed identity assigned here with no permissions, and the machine is just a Windows server. Um, and if I sign in here and then run dsreg cmd status, it's not joined to a domain. There's nothing on here. It's just there's no plugins. If I go to packages, plugins, there's nothing in here. It's just a dumb plain Windows virtual machine. And then on the attacker side, I have a malicious attacker domain, hackcorp.co.uk. Bought that especially for the video. Hackcorp.co.uk. I own this. I control this. I can do whatever I want to it. It's kind of the same setup. I have a Windows virtual machine with a managed identity without any roles associated to that. But I mean, this side of things, it doesn't really matter because I control it anyway. But essentially, what I've done is I've put this on the internet, and it's got a managed identity, so it has a metadata service enabled, and then it's got a public IP here, 172.187. So I can just kill that public IP address, and now I can see my tenant that's returned. So the attack, if you can call it that, it's not really an attack, essentially is the VM extension that you deploy to connect a virtual machine to a domain that you can deploy. Essentially, it's just a wrapper around the dsreg cmd utility, and what it does is it just writes these these three registry keys, and instead of putting 169.254, I just thought I'd stick in my attacker controlled VM, see what happens. So all you have to do basically is run this, right, and that will have updated my registry keys now. And there's nothing else installed on here. And all I need to do now is just run dsreg cmd. Bear with me. I need to find the command exactly. Yeah. So this is a utility that's installed by default on all Windows machines. There's no extra stuff here. And then it's literally Azure secure VM join is the flag, and then I'll just stick debug on there as well. Cool. Run that. Now let's have a little look at the logs whilst this is doing it. I mean, I've got a 200 already, so I can see it's worked. But joining device to Azure ID with MSI credential, targeting host name, which is my malicious IP. So basically, it's gone to my malicious Windows machine. It's grabbed a token and it's joined that tenant essentially. So if I run the status now, let's go to the top. Azure AD joined, yes. But it's not actually joined the tenant that it's a part of. It's not actually joined this victim tenant. I've actually made it join my attacker controlled tenant. And let's sort of show you something goofy here. So let's create a new user in hack corp called hacker. Oh, this is a pain. I have to actually set up the default password and change the password. Okay, bear with me. It will be worth it. Okay, right. I just had to reset that user's password because it could be a bit funny otherwise. Right, so hacker now exists as a user, hacker at hackcorp.co.uk. Cool. So if we open up an RDP connection to the VM, and now this one I've actually it's written in the blog a little bit, but I've actually disabled NLA, which is explained in there. Is this going to work? It should have changed down here. Oh, it's a pain. So it says here, your account is configured to prevent you from using this device. Now, what's kind of cool about this, if this is going to work, I'm on my attacker control tenant. I've just created this user, doesn't have any permissions. So if I go to my subscription here, which I control, we're in my attacker controlled domain, and then I go to IAM, add a role assignment, owner. Sorry, let's do the actual, what's it, virtual machine login, so what it is. Let's go for administrator. We're going to apply it to hacker. Right. Okay, so I've just given that permissions over the subscription and the tenant that I control, but sorry, not that one. Let's try again. Sorry, I'm just trying to do the RDP. It's opening on the other screen. Right, here we go. Other user. Hacker at hackcorp.co.uk. And now I'm in. As simple as that. So what's really interesting, I think, is that the way that the permissions are resolved. So in adding a role assignment to a user in a different tenant, it's given me like persistence, I suppose. But the trouble is, you need a local admin anyway to update the registry settings. So it's not like a privilege escalation, but it's just really weird, right? Like, so let me be clear here. If I go to users, there is hacker here at HackCorp, which now has permissions over victim machine in a completely different tenant. In here, there, hacker HackCorp. I think it's just me in this victim tenant. There you go. There's like nothing here. So yeah, I think it's a kind of goofy. It's not particularly a privilege escalation or anything, but I thought people might find it interesting, so I'll share it.